Welcome back to Genki Comics. This is Charles. I'm driving the bus today.
Yeah.
I took over. Gord's still here. Don't worry.
I'm here.
We're going to do a really interesting one today. I'm going to be hitting this guy, Gord, with a bunch of questions about something he's built today. But first, let's talk about the zine party that's coming up. November 12th, down on 12th Avenue Southwest in Calgary, Alberta. It's put on by Shelf Life Books and the Community-Wise Resource Center. It's going to have all sorts of stuff. Tons of people there selling their zines and showing their zines. Short film screenings from Quick Draw Animation. The long-lost Calgary Zine Library will be open for the day and accepting donations. And there will be a really cool photo booth. And you'll be able to do a tour of the Community-Wise building, which is a beautiful...
It's a cool old building.
Yeah.
It's the old Y downtown. A lot of people know it as that. A lot of partiers from back in the day know it as the old Y, I think.
I've been drunk in that building as a
Have
young
you?
man. It came up when I was in my college days, and we stayed at that Y.
Oh, wow.
That's where we stayed.
Wow.
And we got up to some things.
History in the making, folks. Come tour.
A bunch of drunken 19-year-olds running through the Y in the middle of the night. So entries by donation to Community-Wise, so please come check it out. We will both be there. We will both have zines that we've built and have done. And today we're talking about the one that Gord has done. So Gord, tell me about what you did, man.
Yeah, so leading up to this zine show coming up here in November, feeling like, wanting to get more stuff on our table that's more zine specific.
Yeah.
And just using it as an opportunity to try some other things out, namely adaptations and adapting somebody else's work and trying to breathe my voice into other people's work. So last weekend, you and I were just chatting about that, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll take something from this book that I got. So I picked up this Frontier Days in Alberta, just found it on one of my thrifting expeditions that I do, and picked it up as a resource for another project that I'm working on. And just wanting to get as many resources as I can for this other project. But in that, this Garnet Basque, I think that's how you pronounce his name, he's the editor, but he wrote half of this thing, and he wrote a bunch of stuff like this. And coming to this page here, The Phantom Train of Medicine Hat. Charles and I both have a bit of
some history.
We spent some time in Medicine Hat. Yeah. We discovered that we were at the same concert before we even knew each other.
Yeah. That
Holly McNarland concert that happened at Medicine Hat College. We were both studying there at the same time, but we didn't know each other. So Medicine Hat, I think it's a cool little town full of lots of history down there. But yeah, this discovery of this little ghost story. So I thought, well, it's a short story. I think it would fit a little zine. So I did just that.
Yeah. So here's your first. This was sort of your first draft of plan, or did you have any other pieces before you came to this?
Nothing. I took one of the. I watched your the zine video that you did. Please check that out. Watch it, folks.
You were inspired by the format.
The formats that you went through, and I don't think I've read a zine in all those formats that you presented. But there was one format that I was like, I'm sure I've read something like that. And it engages some of that great comic book language about reveals and how it's a tactile experience. It's it has those reveals built into it. It's a little technical, and I think that's something that I've wanted to play with as well, especially looking at like Chris Ware stuff. Of course, this is nothing like Chris Ware. I can't compete with Chris Ware, but using some of the directional devices that he uses in some of his art and incorporating it into this. So this here is the script. It is the layouts all in one shot. So I just pieced it together. I was like, this is how it's going to read. You can see I folded it to see how it's paced out and stuff like that. Yeah.
So where do you start when you're doing an adaptation? Where do you begin on it?
I don't know. I went back to the book and put the book. Oh, yeah. So I went back to the book, just highlighted, kind of thought about how this could be paced out in comic book form. So you'll notice I've got some pieces that I've sort of blocked out here. Even a number 1. This is the story breaks down into basically 3 sort of 3 major events. You've got 2 warnings or 2 witnesses of this phantom train, and so I can do my best to depict those in the course of a very short period or short space that's found here.
And I know some of your notes, as I'm looking very close to this, you're really picking out stuff where it's about actual sort of players in your adaptation. So
characters
actual about
pop
what
up.
Characters doing something.
Yeah.
So is that where you started to craft your
the
story?
action that's going on in here, taking that action, putting it into my own sort of mental, and I didn't consult any other sources. After completing this, I saw that there's been some podcasts who have covered this, even some TV shows that I think have covered this Phantom Train of Medicine Hat. I didn't look at any of those. I just found the action, put the action in mind, and how I would tell it.
Yeah, that's almost sometimes the best way to do it, because then instead of clouding your story with a lot of other influences, and that's something that I fall into quite a bit. I fall into big research holes, and then I find I've got more. I go, well, this is 3 different books. This isn't one book anymore.
Oh yeah.
So, I think
the
right
hardest
choice.
part of doing this kind of thing.
Self-control is always the hardest one.
Even with these YouTube videos, like how deep do we go with the history of this stuff? And I could have gone into like the history of CP Rail with this little story, but I had to really discipline myself of being like, no, just take what you've got, stick with it. A zine is supposed to be something that's pithy and readable in like 10 minutes. I don't want to get into too much heavy stuff.
I'll tell you what, I need you standing on my shoulder saying that every time I'm working on my stuff.
It takes that's the hardest part, I think,
for
of
sure.
This. So, okay, from this, doing some research, seeing what's out there on the internets, and finding a photo.
Oh, look at this beautiful adaptation of this.
Yeah, so this photo, it's...
was it from the Medicine Hat
No,
paper?
It wasn't. It was from another archive. I forget which archive it is. I should have looked that
Maybe
up.
the Glenbow or the...
It wasn't the Glenbow. It was something Basin. Kootenai Basin, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Some other
Yeah, you find
archive.
these things, and sometimes you'll find them in archives of something quite far away.
Yeah, I think
just-
it's something in BC.
Yeah,
even
that just happens.
That had this photo. There was a few photos of the event.
Who knows, maybe it was taken by someone actually with the, CN or CP Rail at the time, and that's how it ended up.
Yeah, easily.
You never know about these things. Canada is very funny that way, and that stuff travels. And because we're spread out so much, it can end up in another province. Yeah.
And I really like lithographs. Like I love lithographs, and that was, I think, some imagery that like people who grew up in the 80s might have been surrounded by in their homes. Like we had lithographs on our walls.
More woodcuts and lithographs and prints. All about print. Printmaking is coming back in sort of a real boutique way, but it was everywhere for the longest time. And it's never really gone away. And you really, the texture that you put in really harkens to that idea of a lithograph and
I wanted to get
printmaking.
Those really delicate fine lines. It's cumbersome for sure when you're doing it. Like I think this alone took me a couple hours to get that texture right.
Yeah, I would have fizzled out far before doing that.
Really delicate lines first with it was a Micron 1 that I was using, and I was surprised it came out just fine in the printing, and then using dots on top of it.
So you stippled on top of the line work. So that's how good to know. I will probably have to employ that technique or try to.
And I did it down here with this worn down path to the destruction. But the composition of this photo, I loved it. Like I didn't do too much to it to change it.
It's very dynamic.
Yeah, like the power pole. I like having power poles. My dad's a power lineman. Try to incorporate that into some of my art. And
it's got that.
It's
got that natural perspective vanishing point out here somewhere.
Yeah, and it works as a reveal, right? Like like it is a more elaborate piece than what's in the rest of the zine, and I wanted that. Like I wanted this to be kind of a dramatic reveal as this all folds out.
And you showed, again, talking about self-control, you kept the margins real wide on this one,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I myself would have probably found myself trying to maximize.
Yeah, right.
But here it works.
Yeah.
It's so stark.
Yeah, and I didn't want to go any bigger than this because this thing, yeah, it took some time. It took a couple days to finish this piece, but yeah, like you said, the wreckage and how it sort of gets worse the more close it gets to us, and this woman here too, this somebody who's in a state of mourning, almost ghost-like figure, overlooking this wreckage. Because there were some people that perished.
Yes, there were casualties in that one.
Yeah, of this phantom train. So this is one step that I took. The first piece that I did, and then it was mapping out exactly how the story was going to play out.
Wow, and you had to really think about economy of your space to get this in here.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a big part of it. So a few things that I was just trying out here was use of some directional pieces, because of course not everybody's familiar with a zine. So like using the train tracks as a way to guide the reader to where they have to read next.
And you incorporate it into the storytelling as well, which is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I was like, okay, well I could just use arrows, or what would make sense for this story? And of course, it's a story about a phantom train, so let's use a train as the directional device. And in a couple of spots, really experimenting with it. So, like the engine never stops down here, following the tracks up to here, where you've got this train coming towards. Yeah, I really wanted to play with that. And then, watch out for that damn train! And then you're gonna flip. And you'll see how it plays.
And then you get the big reveal.
And wanting to use thicker blacks, play around with my lettering a little bit. Again, little icons to direct the reader on what to do, such as down here, open, or over here with the lift. Because it is an unconventional kind of format, right? So lift up here, using a lot of thick blacks, which is not like like I said, that lithograph style, really delicate, fine lines. I love, but stepping away from that
juxtaposed next to thick blacks.
Yeah, that was something I was definitely playing with, and wanting to play around with lettering, because I don't know, I kind of don't trust you all that have been saying that my lettering's really good. I don't know why I don't trust you. I think somebody said something to me at one point, like, what the hell is this?
It's very readable, and I think the trick is you use a fine nib for that.
Yeah.
I'm always tempted to use a thicker nib, and then I find my stuff bleeding together. It's a problem I'm having in my current zine that I'm making.
Right.
But I'm working through it, where I'm finding, yes, I have to go thinner than I think is appropriate, and because you get that ultimate readability. And I think it's also because you're not filling it with too much, so you're giving everything lots of room. It works.
And it was super fun.
Yeah.
It was super fun. It again, like this cartooning style is not something that I do. My son said that the characters in this look like Gravity Falls, which I haven't watched, but I've certainly heard of. And I don't know if that's kind of gone into my head somehow. And
sometimes osmosis happens, but sometimes, you know what, a good idea is a good idea is a good idea. Yeah. So having this, especially having this kind of old coot who's not believed by the person he's talking to, it makes sense to have him kind of be really comical and
this country bohunk works on the
weathered coot
rails and is telling people of this phantom train and watch out. I'm not doing that ever again. That thing scared the hell out of me. And not even for some cash, you can't even convince me to do it. This guy was scared. Tuhei was scared. So yeah, that's the zine, the story part of it, and just real old school way of doing things. I'm gonna cut out and paste, real zine style. Some images from Medicine Hat as well, like the Medicine Hat town logo.
The gas lights, yeah,
the gas lights, and then the buffalo, which would have been prevalent at the time of the story.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And then going into this is just that same interior image. I just wanted to do solid blacks through here. This is actually the original. And my kids were like, no, those solid blacks take away from the detail of this. And I kind of agree
pulls
with
the
that.
eye right to it.
Yeah, it's like it highlights the wreckage of it, but I think even still comparing it to that other one,
it almost needs to be about the pure chaos.
Yeah, that's kind of what everybody in my family was saying too. It's like, yeah, you want that chaos. This actually adds to the details of this wreckage, and this maybe takes away from it. This one's a little more, I don't know. This to me is a little more art, and this one's a little more, well, like comic book language, where you have that high contrast. That just didn't work for this. So doing all of this, I got really into this. I was enjoying this process of making this zine, and I got it done real fast and in time for Halloween. So this is the package that we're giving away to trick-or-treaters.
So let's
crack it open.
Pull this open and open the zine as it's intended.
Spill it out, man. Like you just got it trick-or-treating. Like somebody gave you a chip track in your
and you got some
Halloween
fun
bag.
stuff in here, toys.
Yeah.
Oh, great stuff. So here's our finished piece. So here's the interesting, the format that it takes. It plays with your overall page, just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So as you flip it open and move to the first part here, and you're told to flip it again, you're getting this
reveals.
And it's great because you're able to play with the gutter here. Because if this had been a traditional one, maybe where you're doing it and then you're doing a trim to make it work, you wouldn't be able to play with this real estate. Yeah. And as we open it again to that great big reveal.
Bam.
Beauty.
Bam.
Beauty.
Yeah.
And you were so smart. Those I'm raving about that. You know, it's like a 2-inch, 2.25 inch.
Well, I don't think anybody's gonna be framing this, but like it's kind of what I had in mind. Like if somebody wanted it to hang out.
That's what I was gonna say. That's what I was gonna say about this piece with the blacks. I can picture this one on a wall.
Right.
Compositionally.
Right. Yeah.
And having more as a single piece, having more impact maybe in that way on a wall. Yeah. Whereas this, I think, is totally appropriate to where we're at on this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so just wanted to share that with you folks. Those of you who are maybe new to zines and meeting us at the zine show and wanting to do your own thing, it really is simple. It's fun. And when you go to those zine shows and you can trade these things back and forth with people, just a blast.
That's what I'm looking forward to, is just getting other people's pieces and trading mine to them.
Yeah, so we did a pretty big print run of these. And like I said, we're going to be giving them out to trick-or-treaters. You're giving them out to trick-or-treaters.
I am. I'm doing it at my house.
Steve-O's doing it as well.
Tell us about your happy accident on this on this treatment here.
Yeah, so I was applying... the black was a little too fresh on this little nub here when I went to take the eraser to it, and it smudged, and I was like, what am I gonna do? I should take the white out to it. And it's like, oh, maybe I could do that with the rest of it, and just give it that phantom appearance, like an old timey silent movie that you might watch that's just been sitting in the bin for years.
And I can picture it. This, these on the side of the engine and the rust coming down.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It's got that weathered. Your typography work here is exquisite.
Yeah, thanks, man.
I wanted to outdo you on mine, and I don't think I did.
I noticed it. I noticed that.
So I need to do more and try to, because I love typography, and your typography work here is real spot on. Really nice.
All hand done, right?
Great work, Gord.
Yeah, thanks, man. And hopefully we see you folks at the show. Come by and grab one of these zines. November 12th, we'll be there. And thanks again to Shelf Life Books and Community Resources.
And happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween, folks. Until next time, like, follow, subscribe.
Thanks, folks.
Bye.